Hello and welcome to my channel. We just finished a wonderful vacation from our cabin up north, and on our drive home I decided it would be a good time to record the Q&A session that I promised you last month. Enjoy the video.
I'm very sorry that I didn't get to it. There was just kind of a lot going on, and it wasn't something that I was really ready to record. So let's go ahead and get started with all of the questions that you submitted on Instagram. I would have to say that the cost is really shitty. The shots aren't fun. I mean, they're not super painful, but it's just not the best experience. I would also say the commitment that you have to make for all of the appointments that you need to go to, can be a really stressful 2 weeks while you're stimming, because you have to go to the clinic. At least for my clinic, it felt like every other day, and if you work a full-time job like I do, it can be really hard to find time to do that and not feel like you're getting behind on work or just being stressed about the PTO and everything. So that would probably be my least favorite. The other half of that was, what was your most favorite part of IVF? I think my favorite part, what's a positive of IVF? My favorite part, the experience of it could be my favorite part. Like, I got to know a lot of the nurses on my team. It was cool and exciting to learn after each stim check how many follicles you had, and to see the progression of them growing. And it was exciting, I guess, sorry, I'm gonna take you down. It's a little bumpy here. It was exciting to experience that and just learn how many eggs they retrieved, how many were fertilized, and kind of that whole process, and then how many embryos. That part was really exciting, but unfortunately for us, we didn't get any normal embryos out of the 2 cycles that we did, so that was really heartbreaking and was really hard to deal with. But I'm still glad that we did both rounds. I think I learned a lot about myself during that process, but yeah, I think that was my favorite part. I think what I would tell myself looking back is that I need to be patient, because it is a very long, slow process. I would tell myself to be more kind to myself in my thoughts and not be so hard on myself about are you doing enough, and what else could you do, or just those negative thoughts that can creep in. I think I would tell myself to be more aware of that and to fight that, those kind of thoughts, and just to be more kind to myself. I would also tell myself that it's going to be a difficult journey, and to really find something to get your mind off of it, or ways to cope, such as make sure that you're going to church or watching church every week, have a daily prayer routine, maybe work in some meditation, make sure that you get outside and get some fresh air when you can, just ways of self-care, and to work on my mental health, because like I said before, it's not an easy journey. It's very slow going, and there's a lot of waiting, and yeah, it's not fun. So if you know anybody going through IVF, I encourage you to be patient with them, reach out to them often, see if they need anything from you, give them encouraging words when you can, because what they're going through is really challenging, and it's difficult to admit that when you're going through it, because you just want to put on a happy face and show everybody that you're okay, it's no big deal, it's not bothering you. But having people check in on you regularly, I think, would really benefit them. So that was a very sweet question from somebody, asking how they can support basically me through the journey. And like I said before, just reaching out often, just saying like, thinking of you today, checking in on you, you know, it doesn't have to turn into a super in-depth conversation, but just encouraging words of like, you're incredibly strong, I'm so proud of you, I can't imagine what you're going through, like, thinking of you. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, you don't have to send gifts and things like that, although if that's your love language or the love language of the person that you're friends with, maybe that would be an idea. Just offering to spend time with them, like, hey, you want to go get coffee, and, you know, going through a tunnel, it's dark, but just kind of being there, being a friend, because when you're going through this journey, it's easy to isolate yourself, and it's easy to feel like you want to hide at home and you don't want to do those things. You don't want to go out. You don't want to see people because you have all these crazy emotions going on. And I think having friends that will invite you out and really try to get you out of your house and do like fun things that don't sound like too much work for the person going through the process, I think would be really beneficial. So that would be my advice. I think that starting a YouTube channel and talking about it on social media like Instagram and Facebook, it's really been therapeutic, I guess I could say, to have somewhere where I can go and express my thoughts and feelings, to record my journey and all of the ups and downs that we've been going through. It's been amazing to see how many people appreciate those videos, or people have reached out like, I'm going through the same process and your video really helped me, like, just know that you're not alone and things like that. And that's all that my goal was just to put my story out there and to just let people know that what they're going through, like, they're not the first ones to go through that. They're not alone, so that they could see somebody else online like, oh yeah, I'm going through this too, and I feel the same way you do, and maybe they, you know, can identify and relate to me and my feelings. And I know that helps me when I watch other people online, like their IVF journey or what they're going through, and you just learn from each other. You get tips and tricks, you see what happened with them, and hope that can happen, you know, to you if it results in a pregnancy, or you see people who it's not working for them, and if it's not working for you, you just can relate. So I think that it's just really kind of helped me create a very small community of people, and I hope that years to come my videos will help girls in the future. But yeah, it hasn't really impacted it in too much of a negative way. It's mostly been positive, and a lot of it has been mostly for me, just being able to vent. Occasionally I'll get odd comments from people, but you're gonna get that regardless of anything that you put on the internet. So you just have to learn to brush those off and move on, and just know that what you're doing is to help others, and so you can kind of ignore those negative comments. So we chose to test our embryos because Mostly because of my age. I am 37 years old. I'll be turning 38 in April. And, you know, with that comes, I guess there can be complications with pregnancy and with your embryos, and we just wanted to make sure that our embryos were chromosomally normal rather than like trying to transfer abnormal embryos and then none of them stick or I miscarry, you know, often. And so we just wanted to kind of save that heartache. Since I've already experienced a miscarriage once, like I want to avoid that situation with all costs. Like I never want to experience that pain again. So mostly is because of my age. We just wanted to make sure that we were transferring healthy embryos, you know, if we got any, and so that's why we chose to test. We have considered adoption. It is our very last resort. We wanted to do a few rounds of IVF to see what that gave us. Unfortunately, currently that has given us nothing. So we are looking into getting an egg donor and then seeing how that works. But adoption isn't out of the question. It's just not something that we want to consider right now. Great question. You can, but my clinic chooses not to. They prefer not to do that because there is the possibility that if they were to implant, that those embryos could split. So there is always a chance that one embryo could split into two and you'll have twins. But if you were to transfer two embryos and both of them were to split, then you could end up with 4 or more. That's what happened with Octomom, is the embryos, the cells kept splitting until she ended up with 8. So my clinic said that's too much of a risk. We don't want you to have to go through that because it can put me in danger. It can also endanger the babies. If I were to have 4, you might have to do, what is it called? Something selection, where you decide which ones will continue growing and which one won't, and like all of that is just kind of nasty and something that I really don't agree with. And so they just said no, one at a time is the best option. It's a great question. This happens all the time. I think what you have to do is, oh hi Summer, is you just have to understand that that person is coming from a good place. Like they're not trying to be rude or mean by giving you advice. They just want to help, and usually that comes from a good place. What I do is I listen to what they have to say, a story about my cousin did this, my aunt did this, have you tried that, blah, 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 blah. Rather than fighting it and saying like, yeah, well, we already did that, or yeah, I know, or no, thank you, I didn't ask you for your opinion. Rather than that, I just listen to what they have to say. And then I say, oh, thank you, you know, very much for letting me know about that. And that's all you have to say. You don't have to say like, yeah, we'll try that, or, you know, like, people just want to help. And I completely understand that. And before I went through this journey, I caught myself doing those same kinds of things. Like, have you thought about this? Or like if I had a friend who, you know, just had a baby and was having trouble with like them eating or sleeping, like since I came from early childhood education and I worked with infants for 3 years, and like sometimes I would catch myself offering advice or asking, have you done this? Have you done that? Only because like I care for that person. I have some experience like caring for infants, and so I would just try to offer options or things to think about, and usually that's not what that person needs to hear. They need your encouragement and your love, and so I understand that that's where those people are coming from when they're giving me advice, and so I just say thank you for letting me know and leave it at that. Egg retrieval doesn't hurt. You're under anesthesia when the procedure is happening, and then you wake up loopy and drugged afterwards. I would say the only part that hurts is afterwards you can kind of get a soreness and you feel like your ovaries are swollen and like they're like hanging low. I mean, that's not really what's happening, but they just feel heavy. And so I would recommend a heat pack. Keep heating it up, putting it on your abdomen. Tylenol or ibuprofen is really helpful. And then I recommend trying to move around like gently and not try to do too much afterwards, because you are healing. You have holes in the inside of the walls of your vagina to your ovary, so you've got punctures there and they just need time to heal. But yeah, I would just say rest and heat, and then if you feel like it, try to go for like a short walk just to get out of the house, because movement does really help kind of make things feel better. I do have a video on tips for injections. I'll link that up here if you care to watch it. But things that we did were like use an ice pack, do deep breathing when the shot is being injected, watch all of those CVS health videos that I posted in that. Yeah, I would recommend that video if you're curious. I think that's pretty much, I answered all the questions that I got. If you have any additional questions, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. And I again ask that you continue to pray for Zach and I. We're moving on to this next step of the process of looking into an egg donor, and so we're just going to need all of the prayers and love and support that you can give. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, because it really supports my channel and it shows me that you care.